And welcome back, the Boardroom Podcast. We're back here. We're recording from Hernando High School right now.
Alma mater, man.
The alma mater. I didn't see I thought there would be like a Chad Wicker entrance.
I don't think
like
I'm not that famous.
Yeah, a plaque or something. I don't know. But we're coming to you from Hernando High School because we've got a special guest joining us. The new athletic director of Hernando High School, Nick Brown, will be joining us later on. Great interview with him. Possum Neck, Mississippi. What
are you laughing at?
I'd never heard of that. That was a new one for me. But he is the new athletic director here. There's been some turnover here at the high school, and he's the new athletic director taking things on, and all the programs here. A lot of successful programs that we have at Hernando High School, a lot of good community support. So y'all can look forward to listening from the new athletic director if you haven't heard from him yet. Hearing a little bit more about him.
How's the soccer season going?
I don't know.
I'm talking about for you.
We had a tie in our first game.
Okay.
The 6U, we don't keep score officially. I don't. I'm just trying to make sure. I'm just trying to make sure all the kids are on the field. Sometimes you got one that takes a water break in the middle of the quarter, and you playing 3-on-4, 2-on-4.
Didn't Randy score a goal?
She did. She got her first goal. So she was real excited about that.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
She's playing 6U, and then and while I'm playing 12U, and so we've just had one game there. And you got a couple more this week, so they're just clicking right along, man. Soccer season's in full swing.
I'm coaching Haifa team. We're starting. We have a jamboree Saturday, getting that going. Mm-hmm. So we play every Saturday.
What's y'all's team name?
We're the White Tigers. So every team's the Tigers are just a different color. So
okay. We're Wicker's White Tigers.
Wicker's White Tigers. That's
there
right.
you go. Okay.
So we got a lot of kids.
Flag football, right?
Yeah, flag football.
Okay.
We have a lot of kids that are learning to play, and we're going to have a good time, for sure.
Well, at least it's starting to cool down a little bit for y'all. It seems like the weather's slowly but surely starting to change from that crazy heat wave we had a couple weeks ago. And
terrible.
Yeah, I think we're finally starting to see the first hint of fall. So I know everybody's enjoying that and probably getting on the patio a little bit more and enjoying some
Ole Miss football.
Yeah, that's you got all the college sports are getting cranked up here, and
it's hard to watch a game 73-7. Though I'll be honest with you, and I'm a diehard Ole Miss fan, but man.
Well, all the three big schools. I don't know what Delta State did, but the big three, Ole Miss, State, and Southern Miss, all won their first game by 25 plus points or whatever. So everybody had a blowout win in the first week. So everybody's positive this week. Everybody's coffee tastes a little bit better on Sunday morning when you win when you win your football game on Saturday. So, so we've got we talk. This is kind of a sports packed episode. We're talking athletic director. Yeah. We've been talking football and soccer, but we're going to talk a little bit about city business. We had the board of aldermen had our first regularly scheduled meeting in September. Just last night. We're recording this on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So just last night, so we're fresh off a meeting.
Fresh.
The big news out of a couple things. One is the budget for the city was approved. The fiscal year 2024 budget was approved. A $41 million budget, which includes all of the the funds that have to go into it. So it's but without any kind of tax increase. So you shouldn't see any kind of tax increase to your property tax. Which is certainly a positive.
You're just jumping right into it, man.
Well, I'm just hitting high notes real quick.
Okay.
And also, there's some funds that have been put in there for improving parks. Soccer lighting is included in that. There's approximately $6.7 million that are put into park improvements. Whether it's soccer lighting or there's some baseball, softball fields to be constructed in the future. There's a master plan that the city's going to kind of slowly but surely start to implement within working in its own budget. That's what I feel like. Folks in Hernando told us when the Penny for Parks referendum did not pass. They're saying, hey, board, you got to work within your budget just like we do at our house. Just within our household budget, we're taking care of things. Y'all take care of y'all's house. Well, that's exactly what we're doing. Clearly, there needs to be some investment and some improvement made within our parks programs, and some updates that need to be made. Whether it's for safety or ADA compliancy or whatever it is,
Right.
there's just some things that need to be done. So those things are certainly being taken care of in this budget. There's a bond that'll have to come out, and there's still some work to be done there, but things are slowly but surely moving forward from that standpoint.
Right. The general fund budget's $22.1 million. That's really the money that's kind of discretionary spending, really. We put $1 million into contingency or a rainy day fund to have in case we have God forbid, a natural disaster or some type of emergency. A building catches fire or something like that. We'll have some revenue to do that. I think Conger Park.
About 1.1.
Yeah, yeah.
With the ambulance.
We talk about that. Yeah, but I think I looked last night just real quick. I think almost $7 million is police. I think $6 million is fire. So you $13 million of that $22 million is
about 65%.
Yeah, about 65%. Then you got animal. If you want to count the animal shelter in that, as being a first responder, that's another couple. Yeah,
that's part of the police budget, though, right?
Right. So the police total budget in this budget here is $7.3 million. So that's almost a third of our fund. And then I'm looking at the fire here. The total fire budget is $5.8 million. So $12 million.
There's been and I think that this board has had a consistent approach of taking care of public safety. I feel like the public safety budget overall, so police and fire combined, and that includes your ambulance services, some of these other things, has steadily increased without any kind of tax increase. So the natural organic increase of the budget, because the city is developing and growing at a decent clip, at a conservative clip, those funds are being put back into public safety and also infrastructure. I guess we can talk about that a little bit as well.
Yeah. We I think another record number of total money put towards street paving. Now I think I have some concerns, Ben, about how that, if we can maintain that over the next couple of years. But we are putting what is it? Here it is. $3,300,000 into paving projects, road repairs, and I think $700,000 of that goes to the project at Renaissance Park. Is that right?
Right, and so what that is it's the $700,000 is the matching part of a $1.7 million project to kind of get a road built more into Renaissance Park.
Get a tardy
I didn't get a tardy. I'm on time. I'm early. I was early. I was here early. But getting that road built out, and then also some some enhancements to Renaissance Park. Including I think there's was it frisbee golf thing they're putting in there, disc golf.
Yeah.
There's I think a pavilion and some other things that are gonna further enhance Renaissance Park and make it a little more usable.
Yeah.
The biggest part is, building a road out is always an expensive part of it, but that will help to get us to where future ball fields and things like that are being built.
If y'all are familiar with that, I think that gets us to the ditch, I believe.
Okay.
At some point, we'll have to cross the ditch.
Okay. Listen, you can go explore Renaissance Park. There's trails, there's walking trails that are all through there. That the previous board did had some of those installed, and they're good walking trails that are back in there, and you can definitely explore it. But the park certainly needs some work. It's about 50, 60 acres of land. It takes a lot of funds to make that happen. So that's one part of it. The other, out of that 3.3 for paving, 700 of that, 2.6 million for neighborhood streets. We'd like to see. We're still working on that list. I think every alderman has their own list in their head of places that need to be addressed. Alderman Miller, I think, was saying last night we needed to go back and look at previous road studies that have been done and
Ben,
use that as kind of a guide.
I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast, but I believe in 2016 or 17, 18, that time frame, the city worked with Civil Link to develop a long-term city improvement plan. And listed the streets that need to be repaired, and that's what Mr. Miller is talking about. Make sure we're following that plan. I don't know how well we followed that plan. I know in my particular ward, we've tried to follow it the best we can, but
I think the problem with it is that it's, you know, how many ice storms have you had since then?
right,
And
that's right.
you know, there's development that occurs, and there's new roads that have been built, new neighborhoods that have been built in the last 6 years. So that's the challenge with following
just
it.
think about the population growth, and what's that, 6 years now since that's been done?
Well, I know like Center Street, for example, right there where the Baptist church is, and some
Yes.
of that's pretty, because there's been some projects that have been done in that area. There's
Yeah.
been some concrete trucks and asphalt trucks that have rode through there, and it tears the road up. I mean, there's no way
Just like
around it.
Vaden, Vaden, we did Vaden this year.
Yeah, the new-
But, we are, I think, I speak for one, but I think we're all dedicated to doing the best we can each year to continue to improve the roads. I know I heard that from constituents, was that they wanted to see improvements to the roads, and we've tried to do that. I mean, we've record numbers of investment each year.
And speaking more to that, that was another thing we did last night is we accepted, or we're moving forward on engineering services.
You want to go through the agenda,
for-
make sure we don't miss anything?
Well, that'll work. Fire off. What you got?
Well, we opened up with the Pledge of Allegiance by Mill Sanders and Alexander Dixon. I think they did a good job there.
They did awesome.
Hernando Elementary this year is going to be sending 2 people to each meeting to do the Pledge of Allegiance. They did great. We got into the consent agenda. Nothing there of great concern. This is all posted online if you want to look at it. Some training for our police and fire. A lot of free training too. I like the free training. We hired 3 police officers. A lady for utilities, gave her a promotion to another lady who's moving from planning to I guess, what's that, deputy bookkeeper, is that, I think is the title we gave her. We declared September 25th through 29th as Stormwater Awareness Week.
Things like that.
Let me ask you, Ben, when you have Stormwater Awareness Week, did you get a party for that? Do we have a
I don't.
festival?
And what would it be? I mean, would you like a slip and slide?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah, we might have to work on that. Stormwater Awareness Week.
Yeah, that's September. That's coming up. We allowed Wesley Meadows to do food trucks for their Carnival in the Meadows. That's a pretty cool event. They do. We allowed food trucks for the hometown headliners coming up. That's starting. Is that
This
Thursday?
Yeah,
The first one?
every Thursday in September. Yeah.
Yeah, I got baseball practice on Thursday, man.
We got soccer practice on Thursday, so I'm with you.
We signed a contract with Wagner Engineering to design the McInville overlay project. That's your ward. You want to talk about that, Ben? What that is?
Yeah. So the Metropolitan Planning Organization, gave the city a grant that we have to pitch a little money in for it.
A little.
Well, I mean, for the overall cost. I mean, it's an 80-20 grant, a $2.6 million, $2.7 million project to overlay all 5 lanes of McInville from 269 to Pleasant Hill Road. Obviously, desperately needs it. Anybody that's ridden on that recently, there's orange cones everywhere, diverting traffic. The high school construction has, there's a lot of big trucks that have just torn the road up. I mean, it's really, really bad. It's going to have to be done. But we're starting the process to get it, engineered and designed, so that we can hopefully, maybe over the summer, go ahead and get it paved. I think the general thought is that the high school will be far enough along in construction by then that most of the heavy truck work will be done. But we do have to kind of get that thing moving forward because these grant funds do expire at some point or another. So you need to kind of show that you're making some progress there. So that's sort of the idea there. Obviously, it needs to be done. It'll be fresh asphalt ready for the 2025. When 2025 rolls around, that high school opens up, they'll hopefully have a fresh, clean road to be driving on.
Yep. Next thing we did was we amended the plumbing code to, prior to this amendment, if a facility had an occupancy of more than 15, they would require water fountains in their business.
Okay.
And I think this is cost prohibitive to some smaller businesses.
Yeah.
And so we changed that to if you have an occupancy of 100 or more. So that should help relieve some of the small business issues there. Item 15, we donated $500 for a student to attend the Hernando High School choir, music Mississippi choir teacher conference in Hattiesburg. We've done that from time to time to help financially these students make these traveling arrangements. We approved a contract with Hills Pet Nutrition to provide food for our animal shelter.
Yeah, they
Increased
gave us some discounts and stuff.
yeah,
on that.
yeah, it's gonna be fine. Yeah. Approved increase to the block rental fee for $50. And then we approved a surplus in property from the Parks Department, which, I was looking at this. Man, I may want that Guitar Hero microphone, man.
We surplused a Guitar Hero microphone.
That's what it says, Guitar Hero microphone.
Okay.
It says trash, $0.
It must be broken.
That may be worth something to my son now.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then let's see, we approved purchasing guidelines to make sure we're in line with the federal project we're doing.
For all the ARPA,
Yes.
American Recovery Plan Act funds.
We have to follow the federal purchasing guidelines.
Yep.
And then number 20, we approved the MOA, which is
Should be MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. but
I think this is a
don't know what that
memorandum of agreement is what this
okay.
Same thing between MDOT and City of Hernando.
There you go.
For the Ben Piper roundabout at Highway 51 in West Oak Grove
Trust me,
Road.
if it was up to me, it would not be a roundabout. but it's
And
not
there
up
was
to
one
me.
gentleman there, he's pretty upset y'all taking his little piece of corner there. He was hot about that.
Yeah, and I want to say that the roundabout is going to take more of the Conger Park property. That was one of my issues with it when I saw the design of it. Is that
You're trying to save the trees.
well, I mean, it's really more about like, is it going to be safe, having a roundabout that close to the park? But it seems like it's not going to be.
I'm off. I didn't want.
People are looking at Oak Grove and 51 right now. That roundabout's not going to go slap dab in the middle. It's going to go to the
It's all
southeast.
centered, yeah. And
So
if somebody wants to go to our Facebook page, the Boardroom Podcast, we've posted that.
we
design.
do. But yeah, I think that. I mean, I completely understand where that guy's coming from. If you've got a house or a property that
Well,
you
I think
own, it's been
I
built,
think he was upset with energy as well because something about some power lines or something.
yeah.
And then we also approved to purchase the easements for that property. We've got some appraisals on there. It's not really going to be that expensive to purchase those. Then we approved the MOU with the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Board of Trustees for the Renaissance Park enhancement. That's what we spoke about earlier. That's a total $1.7 million project. I think that's an 80-20 project too, so that the $700,000 will be our piece of that. And that's to improve the backside there. We approved a cooperative public ambulance service agreement with DeSoto County and with the City of Hernando. And what that does, they essentially every 5 years they give us a little money to help purchase a new ambulance.
Yeah.
And we had put in the budget $300,000 for an ambulance, and I think the county is going to give us $135,000, so that's going to offset that cost, and we'll be able to use those funds, hopefully put it in our contingency or, whatever the board sees fit to do. And then Ben made a motion to increase the garbage rates, right?
I did not.
Huh?
That wasn't me. I do think that people may not be aware of that, but our contract with Waste Connections did expire, so we entered into contract negotiations with them. I think our city attorney did the best he could to try to keep garbage rates as low as possible, but we haven't had a garbage rate increase in 6 years, and there was some additional costs there due to inflation and due to the rising cost of employment.
Yeah, so
these things.
so just everyone knows, we're going from $17.50 to $22. So you're going to see an additional
and that's on
increase on your
trash and brush pickup.
Yeah, that's right. And then if you have an extra can, I think it's going to be
It's going from $5 to $6.60.
$6.63, and then the recycling's going to $6.63. And so you will see that coming, I guess, on your next. I guess that'd be the October bill. Anyway, I think people understand that inflation, everything, the costs have gone up, employees have gone up, gas has gone up, and so I don't think that's a problem. I know what I've heard from some constituents is some accountability for the vendor there, because I know they've missed several people's garbage and routinely missed some people's, and I think we've worked on that. And my understanding, Ben, you may help me explain this a little clearer, is that there's some kind of clause in that agreement that if If they miss your garbage, you notify the city. We notify Waste Connections, and they don't pick it up within 24 hours, and they're fined $100
per instance.
per instance per house. So,
In the past, you might have had, if you called and said, listen, my trash hasn't been picked up in 2 weeks, you might have seen a credit for $8 or something like that, basically, giving you that $8 back or whatever else. And, now I think what we'll be able to do is if you have a $100 credit like that, you could credit it for a greater period of time, potentially. There's certainly an inconvenience.
well, I mean, I think my thought is that is a pretty punitive amount. So maybe they get a couple of those, they'll make sure their garbage gets picked up. That's what people want. They just want their garbage picked up every once a week.
Well, I think what it should ensure is that when it's reported, how it needs to be reported, when it's reported in within 24 hours, it'll be picked up. Yeah. So if it's missed, it's not going to be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it might be.
That's right. Yeah.
And you and I both have those houses, and that's the thing. What I think people would be surprised to learn is that out of the 10,000 houses or whatever they're picking up, it's usually a very small number of misses.
Yeah,
it's not that they're picking up 90% of them. There's 1,000 houses missing. It's they're doing 10,000 and there's 80. So the percentage of it is very, very small. But the problem is that it's these repeat occurrences. That's when it gets kind of if it gets missed once a year, people are human. Maybe. But the biggest thing I would say too for folks is get that trash can out there. Before 7 a.m. make sure it's because they do have the technology to have cameras on the trucks and see if the trash can's actually out there or not. And if it's not put out there, then it's not going to get picked up.
Yeah. But I think the residents just get frustrated when every other week their garbage is missed, and it's just frustrating. And but hopefully this will hold them accountable, and we can correct that problem and move forward. I think right now there's for whatever reason that if anybody's seen, DeSoto County just went with a new with Waste Connections, and they're seeing a pretty substantial increase in their collection costs. So I don't know, whatever reason, maybe we need to start a garbage collection company.
I would think that would be pretty lucrative, but you gotta figure out where you're going to take it all. You can collect it, but where are you going to put it?
That's right.
Collecting is the easy part. Finding a spot for it's the problem.
And then lastly, we approved the budget. So, a budget. I mean, I think I've said on here before, a budget's kind of outlies the board and the mayor's and the city's priorities. And I'm happy that this budget does have some 4% pay raise to the employees, which I think is
basically keeping up with
inflation.
But
it's just if we ever have a year or two where we don't have the continued growth, we're going to be in trouble. I mean, I think I'm safe to say that. We've been very fortunate where we've had I guess the last 7, 8, 9 years we've had continued growth, and sales tax numbers are higher, property taxes come in at 2, 3, 4% increase. We had a 7% increase 2 years ago. But at some point, we if we have a economic downturn and we have a slow time, we are going to have to make some really, really tough decisions, I think.
Well, and that was I preached on that a little bit, and I'm sure people get sick of me talking about it or whatever else at the meetings. But I advocated for us considering a 3% increase, which I understand. People probably listening are like, well, I didn't get any raise last year at my job or whatever else. I'm with you. I hear you. And the difference between 4% and 3% would save the city approximately $120,000. Well, if that's something that we can put in contingency, we're that much closer to getting to what my goal is, which is to have 10% of what we spend annually. So you mentioned it earlier. What's general fund budget's $21 million, $22 million.
$22 million.
So in the best practice, in my opinion, is for us to have a contingency of $2.2 million and to work towards it. Now, we have slowly worked towards that. We started at $600,000 and now we're at 1.1. So we've almost doubled it, in our time as alderman. But I'd like to see that accelerated, if at all possible. And when you have flat budgeting within your, departments, then you can make that happen.
Sure. And another thing that I'm happy to see was that we are investing in our park system. We're going to take I believe a $6 $6.7 million bond. I can't remember what we'll discuss that later on, but we're going to take a pretty substantial bond and make some improvements to Renaissance Park, and then hopefully put some lights at the soccer field. I played a game out there, what was that, Thursday night, and kind of embarrassed what we had out there for lights. So
Yeah, and it's not just so people understand. And when you hear $700,000 for lights, you're like, golly, that's a lot of money for some soccer lights. But so it would light if you're going out there currently, when you're going into the complex, it's the field area to your right behind the concession stand, kind of. So we've got one big patch of land that's lit, and so this would be kind of the second phase of getting this complex lit, and it would cover more of the U8, U6, players currently, which is the largest participation areas. But then additionally, it would also put lighting in throughout the parking lot, which there's no lighting in the parking lot currently. It's honestly dangerous. It's not safe out there at nighttime when people are getting done with games and practices. Yes, the field's lit, but then you go out to a dark parking lot and you got kids that are chasing balls or doing whatever else. The lighting has to be done. It should have been done 7 years ago when the complex was being completed, but I guess the money wasn't there, or there wasn't a desire to get it done, or maybe it was going to be phased in, with the help of Friends of Hernando Soccer and some of these groups. But again, $700,000 is a lot of money. It was probably $400,000 back then, but it was going to be a huge expense no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, well, frankly, I think we missed a boat on that complex when it was developed. When was it first out there? 11, 12, 13.
And there's a lot of volunteers that raised a lot of money to get it to where it is.
For whatever reason, I guess the city was not in a financial position to help and make some improvements. It's getting there now. I mean, I think this year it looks great out there. They got some gates up to keep the balls from going into the street, and fields look great. But we got a couple more tweaks to do. I think lighting would be the last biggest thing we have left. And
you may notice too, if you've been out at the soccer field, you may notice that there's some parking bumpers that have been installed right at the entrance in an area that is not meant for parking. But
I used to park there. I used to see you parked over there all the time.
I never parked there.
You and your wife, you parked right there.
People would back in and park right there at the entrance, and it made it into a one-way in and out. And so it's just that was something. The reason why those are there is because it was kind of getting tougher for people to get in and out of the complex quickly. So we're trying to mitigate some of that as well. But it does look a lot better out there. I think adding the lighting is just going to get it to a better place. And
I think so.
At that point, the complex will basically be complete. There's a little bit more parking, space that needs to be done at some point. But that can be for a later date. Right now, it's just keeping the complex safe.
Well, anything else on the budget? You done?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that I think that we made a good priority of trying to get the rainy day fund or the contingency fund boosted as much as we can. I definitely would like to see it a little closer to that $2 million mark, but at the expense of roads that need to be paved. I mean, you could easily say if your decision was should we pave more streets or should we save more money, I think most people are going to say we need to pave more streets. We need to get caught up. And so that's kind of the trade-off there. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank all the department heads and the mayor for working and putting the budget together. It was a lot. They knew that it was going to be a tough year this year, I think, and they did take a lot out. So that I appreciate that. Made it a little easier to do.
Officially added another school resource officer to the police budget.
Yeah. Well, we added another police officer, another school resource officer that's supplemented by the school board. I think they're going to pay $60,000 of their salary, and I think they wanted some type of admin staff person to do freedom of information requests, is what they said. So
there's that, and then
we're buying a new ambulance. So sometime in the spring, hopefully, we'll have a new ambulance.
It'll have to be staffed out next year. So that's some of the things that we start to think about too. I think when you look at these budgets and just to talk through how my decision-making process works is you're getting a new ambulance this year. Well, that's a one-time expense, but the recurring expense you're going to have in future budgets is supplies for it, employees for it. Where does that potentially come from? So there's going to have to be some things moved around, budget-wise, or we're going to need to see, more revenue come in from sales tax or whatever to try to help balance future budgets. So. Yeah. There's still a lot of unknowns out there, and ultimately when it comes down to these budgets, folks, I'd tell you that it's numbers on a page. It's the best guess that the executive branch has given to the legislative branch, It's based on previous year revenues and expenses, and that's based on previous years and so on and so forth. But none of us can ultimately know what the future holds.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's why I probably tend more towards a more conservative approach of trying to save as much as we possibly can.
Are you a conservative?
That's what I hear. That's what I hear. Somebody told me that. So, but you try to tend more towards that because you don't know what's going to happen. I want to look out for the livelihood of our employees, but also the city as a whole.
Yeah, I think we want to leave this place better than we left it, and we don't want to make any decisions that will have negatively affect it. Anyway, just to finish up, our total mills and our budget's 40.7654. I think that puts us the second lowest in the county, and if you compare us to the state, fairly low. So we'll
it's
keep
Olive
fighting.
Branch, and then
I'm gonna try to get it to 40 even next year. I'm really gonna push that. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I mean, when you think about it, a mill's 190,000, so you can definitely. People, I don't know how much people will see on their bill, right, on their tax bill,
Sure.
From a decrease of 1 mil, but you would see some small decrease there. So if we can make it happen, we definitely will
I
certainly
think
try.
we're going in the right direction. We've made some improvements, and we'll keep fighting for it. So, you want to end there, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say, we're going to be looking at the lighting project that we talked about earlier. We'll be putting out a request for quote on that soon, and hopefully get those numbers back, and maybe it'll come in under budget. You never know.
One thing we didn't talk about is we did purchase, or in the process of purchasing, the Civic Center
right.
fields, and so a substantial amount of that bond is going to be to some improvements there. New concession stand, and we still have to debate about exactly how we're going to do the fields and things like that. But we're going to invest, substantial amount of money there in the next year or so.
I think we'll be able to get on the same page at some point. I
Yeah.
think it's just people have to get out there and put their eyes on it and go experience it when games are going on and some of those things. So I think as long as the board spends their due diligence time going out there and seeing what the current state is, they can know where we can go, from here on out.
Sure.
So.
All right. Well, we'll bring on our guests.
Yeah, we've got Nick Brown, the new athletic director for Hernando High School. He's our guest this week.
Possum Neck,
Mississippi. He's going to be telling us a little bit more about what his daily duties are and kind of what he sees for the future Hernando High School athletics, including the new stadium, the new fields, all the stuff that's going on that's getting built in on Mackinville Road. So we're going to bring him on now. He's our guest speaker this week. We're joined by our special guest this week, Chad. We've got Nick Brown, the new athletic director here at Hernando High School. We brought in Coach Brown to talk a little bit more about his background and kind of help introduce him to folks here in the Hernando community. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, sir.
And so a little bit about our podcast. We talked to you about it a little bit. Chad and I are both aldermen here in Hernando, and we kind of created this podcast to give community leaders, business leaders, sometimes it's political folks, whatever, just a chance to talk about, themselves a little bit, a little bit more casual, nothing too serious. So we appreciate you taking a few minutes with us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, tell us a little bit more about your background, kind of where what your story is, how you ended up here.
It all started with football for me. I mean, high school, that's all we did. I went to Ackerman High School. Played for Ricky Woods, went to a couple state championships, and I really enjoyed the game. And I wasn't good enough to go past high school, so I went the academic route.
Was Ricky Woods? He ended up at South Panola and then Starkville and
Georgia, all over.
Yeah.
He won like
Big time.
50 state championships or something crazy, right? That dude did nothing but win football games.
That's exactly what he did.
But we were talking before we got recording. You're from kind of an interesting place. Where were you from originally?
My dad's whole family is from Possum Neck, Mississippi.
Possum Neck. Okay.
Yeah, 12 miles east of West.
There you go. 12 miles east of West.
Yep. I tell everybody,
I
get it out of the way.
I got
You
you.
know where West is, Ben?
It's like is it South Grenada?
Yeah,
it's
you go
down that
down
way,
55 past Vaden, and you see West exit.
I've seen it on the way down to the coast or something, but have never stopped there. I don't know if is there anything down there? Is it just hunting?
Absolutely not a thing. There's nothing. There's one gas station that's got to be 100 years old.
Just
That's it.
riding four-wheelers and going hunting. That's pretty much it.
All there is to do. Yes.
And playing football, I guess.
So how did you get to the DeSoto County area?
My parents bought a house on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. They were going to move down there, and then Hurricane Katrina wiped the house and everything else down down there. So instead of going south, they came north, and they knew some people from back home that had moved up here in the school system, and that was 20-something years ago. So it was a lot smaller even then than it is now, and that's kind of where I got my start getting the family back together.
Right,
So
right. So y'all relocated, I guess, to DeSoto County. Is that?
we did.
Yeah. Okay.
My parents were here, I don't know, 3 or 4 years before I came along.
Yeah. And you got to coaching and teaching and.
I did. I went to DeSoto Central Middle, and I was just an assistant football coach. I was new in the school system. I think I was 23.
Was that when Case was?
Oh, wow.
Wasn't Case the head principal over there?
No, I had Chad White.
Okay.
He was there before Mr. Case. He hired me there, and then I told Mr. Case came, and he was there several years, and then he left, and then Mr. Williams, Brian Williams, came along.
So you've been over in DeSoto Central for a good bit of time, huh?
16 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what was attractive about? I mean, obviously, it's the high school level, being athletic director. But what was enticing for you, I guess, to take on this position and to be at Hernando High School?
I'm a big family person, and this school's a big family place. A lot of my nieces and nephews and my kid goes here. All my friends in town, I lived in Hernando even when I worked at DeSoto Central.
Sure, yeah.
Because my parents lived here. So all of my kids have friends the same age and parents, and I know everybody. And if I can bring along, I like to be able to help people, say I've got a friend that's kid's trying out for baseball. He can call me and say, what do I need to do? And I can take care of it.
Sure.
And I like that, the family aspect of it. Mr. Case has built I don't even know what you'd call it. It's a very tight-knit school.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
They help each other. The teachers do. The coaches help each other, and it's a good thing.
You can so high school football player. I think you can if y'all ever meet Coach Brown, I think you'll be able to tell right away. You just look at his hands. He offensive lineman.
Yeah.
What position do you play? He got those offensive lineman hands. I'm just
Are you saying he's not a receiver?
No,
I don't think he was a receiver. I don't know.
I got thrown one pass the whole career at tight end, and it almost hit me in the face before I ever turned and looked at it. When I turned back to look at it, it was by me. So
Well, you never know. Somebody with the tight end maybe can catch a pass.
I was a nose guard guy.
There you go. Okay,
That's
defensive
all.
guy.
That's the guys you got to go low.
That's right.
Get your leverage and drive them back.
Just be meaner than the guy in front of you. That's pretty much it.
That's it.
So my understanding is you're the athletic director here now. What is that? What are those duties?
Well, I go to all the games, of course, and that's the best part of the day.
Yeah.
Is getting to go watch the kids play. The eligibility is a big thing. Here, we have a lot of people transfer and move, so helping get that right, and just helping the coaches do anything they need. That's what I told them the first day I met them. I said, I'm here to help you make your job easier. Whatever you need, let me know. And
Okay.
that's what I try to do.
I think we got volleyball team seasons going on right now.
Yep.
I think they're a pretty good team. Cross country, football. Then when basketball start here another couple of months probably.
Yep, 1st of October.
Soccer's
I think
going.
I think the golf team finished 8th or 9th in the state last year. They had some good talent on that team again this year. I know Chad and I play in some of these scramble tournaments that they have to help raise money for the programs here, and I would say that's probably one of the biggest advantages here is that you got this community that financially gets behind all the programs here.
Absolutely.
From the signs on the baseball field, and then at football there's always a church that's donating the pregame meal, which I don't know if people realize those meals can be $700, $800. I mean, you're feeding 100 people. It takes a lot of money.
Some big boys too.
Yeah, they're healthy, you know. So you really gotta, you know, there's a lot of money tied into all that stuff, and so that's one thing I think we have unique here, for sure in Hernando, is you got a community that really supports all the teams financially, whether it's from the you know the smaller teams, the ones that don't, you know, necessarily sell tickets and have revenue, you know, like your golf, or you know, all the way up to, you know, your big programs like football.
Yeah. Are you have any working with the new high school? Some of the fields are laying out. Do you know anything about that? Or
It's one of those things where I've seen it,
yeah.
and things kind of change from what the plan is to what it will be. And Coach Carr, especially, we've been working on looking at what the baseball field is going to be and do, and just try to make it as functional and, you know, nice as possible. It's going to be a really nice place.
Yeah.
And then, so somebody told me that they're going to go with an artificial surface. I guess they're doing that district wide, but Hernando will get one with the new stadium.
On
with
the
new
football, absolutely, yep.
So every school will have it eventually. It's just kind of phased in
I
at
think
each.
don't quote me on it, but I think it's two schools every year. So I think last year was South Haven and Lewisburg got the turf,
Okay.
and I can't remember who the next two are, but I know that we're put in there to have the turf field for football. Yeah,
Everything's going that direction because, I mean, it's
It
a lot of
is.
money to maintain a field, right?
it really is.
A lot of grass.
In my opinion, artificial is there's no difference as far as from what I've looked at between injuries are worse on artificial than real. Injuries are going to happen. It doesn't matter what you play on, but you know, the safety is the first thing we want to see, and then the turf is way less maintenance. I mean, I think you get it redone every 6-8 years, you know, with the pellets and stuff. Terrible thing about turf is you carry those pellets with you everywhere you go. I'm sure y'all know that.
Yeah. They get everywhere, don't they?
Oh, in your eyes and your shoes, everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're playing or not. If you're just down there, you're getting it on you.
How much do you think, you know, high school athletics, how much do you think things have changed, I guess, from back when you were playing to now? Like, what are some of the biggest changes you think you've seen? I know all the artificial stuff and, all, you know, the equipment and all that, but what do you think are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the last couple decades, I guess?
The athletes, like there's so many outside training things, and there's something going on year round for every, even if you just focus on one sport, it's about year round. And all that training and all that work is just producing some studs, male and female. Like, they're really, I mean, they can get after it.
And I've seen it where, you know, I think Chad and I've talked about it before, you know, people are in a rush to get their kids in competitive, focusing in on one specific sport. But at the same time, they said something like 90% of the players that were drafted in the NFL draft played multiple sports growing up.
I agree with that 100%. I've been a proponent for forever. From my DeSoto Central days to right now, play everything. I know it's hard to do, but you know, you look back and like I tried out. I told I used to always tell the kids in middle school, I tried out for basketball. I've been this size and I was sixth grade, so I kind of grew up. And everybody's like, "Oh, he's gonna be a monster," and then he just stopped growing, except for out. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I want them to play everything, be involved in everything. I mean, the more you do, in this school, the kids are really involved. They want to be in multiple sports. That's a good thing.
Well, and I think that what I've heard more than anything, you know, one is the athletic side of it, that your body's doing different kind of, but also it's like, look, you might be the go-to guy at football, right? And everybody depends on you, and like you're the star guy. But on the basketball team, you're somebody that just rebounds and doesn't really do, and you're a role player, right? So you kind of learn that you're not always going to be the best at something, and you've got to learn where to fit in, you know, and it helps you when, you know, whether you decide to be an athlete down the road or you're working at a job or whatever, you're not always going to be the boss, right? Sometimes you're going to have to be a team player at your job too, and I think that's the other part of the psychological side of it. You know, definitely don't envy coaches nowadays, because I feel like coaches have so much more on their plate. There's so much more that you guys have to manage with players. There's home life stuff. There's stuff on the field and everything else. I think that's another big part of it that's come into play too. Do y'all have to do, whether it's coaches or athletic, y'all do training and all that kind of stuff, or just, working with players and working with all that stuff? Is that something that y'all have to jump into as far as just handle, like, whether it's mental health or like any of that kind of stuff? Is that something that y'all ever touch on, or is it not really?
I've noticed, especially the coaches here, I pick her out of the pile because it's been hot and they hadn't had a place to go as much. And Coach Witten, like, I noticed, I watch them in basketball practice at the same time, and we all have to share right now space, but she's real close with her players, and Coach McCann's close with his. Like, they love, those guys love Coach McCann. And it's just, if there's something wrong with a kid and you're coaching the team and you've got the heartbeat of the team, most of the time when something's wrong or something's going on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll say one thing about at least football Fridays is that the town shows up.
Oh, yes, sir.
It is. I think the first two games, that first game, it was. Did you get out there on the first game?
Too hot for me on the first one. I did go to the second game though.
I just took the kids to the first one, and it was hot. I had to roll out about third quarter.
You didn't stay the whole game, man.
I had to. I know. I'm bad like that, but I was like, at least I went.
Right.
Took the kids. Spent about $40 at concession stand. Supporting the band or whatever, but the community shows up. I mean, I think that's one of those things that, people may not realize it, but, you can go to some smaller towns in, Mississippi, and, sometimes the town shuts down and sometimes people don't show up at all.
I told my wife the other day, I went down there and her office is close to, some of the other principal's office, and I said, I'm fixing to go over and turn the lights on. And they were like, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. But I remember getting on that elementary school bus and, third and fourth grade. And I, we were a small school, but I could ride past there and I could see those lights. And it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I knew, we're going back to school. I get to watch football, get to play football, So that's kind of why I turned the lights on so early. People ask me that. So
I like that. That's a good story.
There you go.
I know my kids ask about the Tiger game. They're like, all my friends are going. We got to go. So
the community's great, man. They show up and they're very supportive of our band. Somebody showed me a clip. I want to say it was one of the social medias. I don't know which one it was, TikTok maybe. But the band, they were, I don't know, getting after it. I don't know what you call it, but they were doing chants or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were just as into the game as anybody, and that kind of support looks really good for the school.
Yeah, you're right about that. I mean, those kids, I don't know how many people see it, but they're out there in the heat just like anybody else is. You're lugging that stuff around, lugging your tuba around or whatever it is, and it's hot. I mean, it don't matter. Like, it's no matter what you're doing, if you're playing the band or football or whatever you're doing, it takes some conditioning to get used to all that stuff. So we get a lot of.
I think the high school ranking just came out. I think Hernando was 8th in the state or whatever. So
and pretty high nationally.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
2000.
Yeah, you can imagine how many high schools in the country. I mean, it's a great school, great community. So
it is. Well, we're lucky to have you here as a athletic director. Now you're still kind of getting your feet under you, and it's still a new thing. But what do you see for the future of Hernando athletics, and as y'all are moving into a new high school? Like, what would you say are some of the goals you want to try to champion, I guess, going forward?
When I walked in Mr. Case's office, to talk to him about the job that came available, I looked to my left and he's got a shelf with 4 or 5 state championship rings. And I said, he kind of asked me the same thing you did, what are you looking to do here? And I said, I want a shelf full of those. Mm-hmm. So that's my short answer on that. We've got the people, we've got the support in the community, we've got the kids. Now it's just time to make it happen. When we move over to the new school, I want it to be the premier place to go play.
yeah.
it's definitely going to be the premier place to move to. I feel like.
Yeah, well, you know,
that seems to be
that's a big, as alderman, we see the growth, and that, a lot of that's contributed to such a good school. You know, 8th in the state or 2,000 in the country, and that's why people want to move into Hernando, into the school district. So it all works kind of hand in glove.
That's right. Coach, anything else you want to add before we wrap things up?
No, this wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. I haven't ever, been with the headphones and the microphones, and the only ones I've done were newspapers. So
That's right. That's right.
But I appreciate you guys coming by.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck on the upcoming football season, basketball, all the stuff that's going on. There's so many sports going on right now.
We're gonna keep busy. We're gonna keep working.
Well, good luck to the Tigers out there. That will wrap up our episode of the Boardroom Podcast.
Can you hear that?
We'll hit you back again here very soon with another episode of the Boardroom Podcast. We'll let you know who our guest is going to be and all that very shortly as soon as we get that person locked down. But for now, I'm Ben Piper.
I'm Chad Wicker.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.